Welcome to another episode of History with Dave. I'm here with Rita Smart, and we're going to talk about the life of Belle Harris Bennett. Rita is a former city councilman and was the first lady state representative in the General Assembly for Madison County. And she happens to own one of Belle's houses that you can go stay in as a bed and breakfast. So Rita, tell me a little bit about Belle and her history in Richmond. And she's not born in the Bennett house that you own.
Right. Well, my husband and I purchased the Bennett house in 2000, and immediately I started researching the people that had owned it, and that's how I learned about Belle Bennett. She was originally born and lived out in the Foxtown area, northern area of Madison County, and grew up out there on a farm, lived at Bernard Hall, which is also for sale, as well as the Bennett house, two historic homes here in Madison County. But Belle was quite a woman in her time. She never married, but to sum her life up, I would probably say she was something like a CEO of the Methodist Church, or the Methodist organization of churches.
She was pretty amazing. When you read about her life, she traveled extensively, not only to Europe, but South America, and I saw that she was in Egypt and places in Africa and Japan and the Far East, helping to establish, I guess, schools for primarily women. She was very involved in women's suffrage activities.
Right. She's also very engaged in education for people with limited resources. She worked quite a bit to establish schools and to provide education for ministers in Eastern Kentucky, also for African Americans. I believe in the early 1900s, she brought George Washington Carver to Richmond to speak at a Chautauqua here in the city. She also taught a Sunday school class at the African American church here in Richmond every Sunday afternoon for years. And I read where she would have up to 500 people come to that class.
That's really incredible, and she had such a I guess a diverse crowd that she spoke to and worked with. Her family was also involved in helping to establish schools and whatnot, and her sister Sue was active until her death, although she died younger from what I understand.
Yes, Belle established Sue Bennett College in London, Kentucky, which is now the Sue Bennett Center. And again, that was for people from Appalachia that would have limited resources. In Nashville today, there is a center, the Sue Bennett Center, which was Scarrett College, that she established in Kansas City. One interesting thing about her travel, we do have her original trunks at the Bennett house. We found them a few years ago in a house on Lancaster Avenue. Oh, wow. And had them restored. So one of her most famous travels was to China after the war to establish hospitals.
Well, that's pretty incredible that you had a lady from Richmond, Kentucky that traveled that extensively, and then she continued to return to Richmond. She didn't relocate to New York or somewhere else. She was very, very focused on this area.
Right. She was real good friends with the Clay girls, Cassius Clay's daughters. And in fact, Sarah Clay married James Bennett, and they moved to the Bennett house. And then then Belle moved down to the Glendon Hotel, and she had an apartment there. And when she was off on her travels, she would rent out that apartment and give the money to the Methodist Church.
Oh, wow. So anywhere she could perform charity, or in any way she did.
Right.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
And then she passes away in the early 1920s. It sounded like, from my research, that her grueling schedule eventually caught up with her.
Right.
And then I believe she died in the Samuel Walker
Home on Lancaster Avenue, yeah.
or the J. Stone Walker.
Yeah,
house
that was
there
her
in Lancaster.
cousin's
Okay.
home. I think she probably had some form of cancer, and so her family took her in then her last days.
It's just an incredible story. Now, can you tell me a little bit about the Bennett house quickly before we
Well, as I said, we purchased it in 2020. No, that's not right. We purchased it in 19. Well, anyway, we've had it 20 years.
20
You do
there
that.
you go.
You do that math. 2000. That would be it. And we've had a wonderful life there. Had all kinds of visitors from all over the world. And my husband and I now have decided to sell the property. So we would like to keep it as a historical landmark for Richmond. I've always called it our architectural jewel. And so, but it is a B&B, and it's very warm and friendly, and we feel like Belle Bennett is there with us every day.
I think it's a wonderful tribute to one of the great ladies of Madison County.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you all for joining us for another episode of History with Dave, and we look forward to talking about some of the other great ladies of Madison County in the near future.